Okay, then. You guys have probably seen the memes, right? Of DaBaby going around, or I haven't even seen him going around for real, but I've seen a bunch of people saying that he's been giving out tickets 2-for-1, giving out free tickets. So I decided let's react to DaBaby tragic decline of his career. I want to see what happened.
Just a short time ago, there were
because a while ago, bro was popping, bro was going crazy. Now he's giving 2-for-1 tickets. Let's see what happened.
few rappers with a more promising outlook than DaBaby. Now, not only did his 2019 debut studio album, Baby on Baby, peak at the #7 spot on the Billboard 200, while his second studio album released later that year, well, it would hit the #1 spot. Yeah, the guy went from wearing a diaper to actually taking over the world. True story. Then Blame It On Baby came around 2020 and not only duplicated its predecessor's success, but it topped it by boasting DaBaby's biggest hit track to date, Rockstar, which spent several non-consecutive weeks at #1 on the Billboard Hot 100. But then the calendar year, it flipped from 2020 to 2021 and all hell broke loose.
Yeah,
now, not only did DaBaby firmly entrench himself in the Tory Lanez and Megan Thee Stallion beef by taking what many people considered to be, well, the wrong side of the conflict, he then proceeded to spout some homophobic comments during a performance at Rolling Loud. Now, after that, half the music industry, they would disown him, and DaBaby...
Really? I didn't know that. Because a while ago, they were like, you can't cancel DaBaby. DaBaby is uncancelable. And then, yeah.
Well, he would see his sponsorships and his concert appearance dry up as a repercussion. And since then, well, things haven't gotten any better. Now, not only did he get into an excessively violent altercation with Danny Lay's brother at a bowling alley, well, he'd wind up having to cancel his own concert. That's after only moving a few hundred tickets in a venue that could seat thousands. So if you want to track the decline of DaBaby's career, well, here are his 6 biggest mistakes. Keep your eyes glued because we made this video exclusively for Snapchat. That's right, we're on Snapchat. If you're watching this video there, you already know, but if you're watching it elsewhere, we're booming on that platform. So be sure to head on over there. Be sure to subscribe. More series like this. All right, we're talking about the floundering career of DaBaby. And to begin with, well, we're going to take a look at his most violent crime to date yet. We're talking about
Walmart.
Sick of all the ads like this
one? Just head to
adskiller.com. Click on Activate Now.
Walmart. In November of 2018, DaBaby was shopping at a North Carolina Walmart with his 1-year-old daughter and her mother when, according to the rapper, 2 young men approached.
Oh, this one ended up proving that he was in the wrong, but I thought they were talking about the other one where bro got shot, I think,
and attempted to rob him at gunpoint. Now, DaBaby has said that what happened next, it was purely in self-defense, and while the exact sequence of events is muddled, a scuffle broke out between these 3 individuals, resulting in one of DaBaby's assailants lying on the floor, shot in the gut. That man, Jalen Craig, well, he died before he could make it to the hospital. Now, DaBaby, he was taken into custody by police, but he was only convicted of a misdemeanor for carrying a concealed weapon before subsequently being given a suspended 30-day prison sentence and 12 months of unsupervised probation. That's right, he was a free man. More recently, well, new surveillance footage of the attack, it has come to light. Now, in the footage, DaBaby, he is seen throwing himself at Craig's associate, striking him first and hitting him in the head before tackling him to the ground. Then, as Craig tries to pull the rapper off his friend, well, DaBaby's girlfriend pushes him away. Additional footage that was viewed by Rolling Stone magazine will reportedly details the ensuing aftermath of the scuffle, in which DaBaby pulls out a and shoots Craig in the side. Now, despite the video footage suggesting DaBaby was the aggressor, there is no audio, so it's unclear if DaBaby was in fact threatened in any way. He claims he was, while Craig's family, they claim it was DaBaby who is instigating the conflict from the very get-go. Now, either way, well, DaBaby, he got off more or less scot-free, and Jalen Craig never left that Walmart alive. But this would be far from the last time that DaBaby found himself under arrest. We've got more. For the next year,
I heard
this
about that
one's
one.
The perfect gift for the friend who's been getting a little too comfortable during quarantine, maybe your son.
Or so, DaBaby, he was on his best behavior, but it wouldn't
I've seen that he's been trying to kiss a bunch of random females and they've been rejecting him and shit. I seen that.
Last forever. In late 2019, he was cited in Charlotte for marijuana possession and resisting arrest during a traffic stop. Now, DaBaby would later claim that the arrest was illegal and that the North Carolina authorities, they were purposely targeting him because they didn't approve of his, well, black excellence. He'd come up with a similar excuse a few weeks later when he got detained in Miami in connection with a robbery investigation. Now, police believe that DaBaby assaulted a concert promoter who he felt shorted him close close to $10,000. Now, in retribution, DaBaby proceeded to rob the guy of $80, his credit card, and his iPhone before dousing the victim in, well, apple juice. And I'm not talking like that as a pun. It was actually apple juice. It's the little details that make that story great. I mean, he's a baby, or he pretends to be DaBaby, and then...
Why? Bro, just sue that nigga. Why the fuck are you being dumb?
Apple juice is a lot of baby's favorite drink. Anyway, who else but DaBaby would rough some guy up and then leave him laying in a pool of apple juice?
No, you stole $80 and a trackable credit card and a trackable phone. Like you won that shit. You didn't win that.
For real. Now, just totally out there stuff. And when police brought DaBaby in for questioning in regards to this event, well, they discovered that he had an outstanding warrant on his record for a battery charge in Texas, where he reportedly assaulted a kiosk worker at the Dallas-Fort Worth airport. After spending about 48 hours in lockup, well, DaBaby, he would find himself a free man. And that's when things, they really started to get weird. Remember the Megan Thee Stallion and Tory Lanez beef in which Megan would accuse Tory of, you know, shooting her in the feet? That's right, dance. Well, not long after, Tory, he was charged with felony assault for the crime, and he and DaBaby linked up for a collaboration. What's wrong with that, you might ask? Well, prior to that happening, DaBaby and Megan, well, they were super tight, and they had collaborated with one another on 2019's Cash, as well as 2020's Cry Baby. So when DaBaby showed up...
See, I wasn't her friend, so, yeah. His stance, he should just stayed out of it, I guess. And I don't know what I would have done if I was in his shoes, but I'm not in his shoes. I chose Tory's side because a lot of the shit did not add up.
Alongside Tory in the music video to Scat, well, it left Megan feeling like a certain kind of way. And she took to Twitter to insinuate that DaBaby, well, he was telling her one thing in private, only to then go and do something very different in public. DaBaby would respond by promising that he had no bad energy directed towards Megan, but then proceeded to take the stage at Rolling Loud directly after she had performed, while inviting alongside a special guest. Say it with me now. Of course, it was Tory Lanez. Now, the duo, they performed Scat with Megan watching from the sidelines. And in most cases, well, that would have been enough for the internet to have absolutely exploded. And people start firing off essays and editorials about how two-sided a friend DaBaby really is. But then he went and did something even stupider.
Really?
Sick of all the ads like this one? Just head to adskiller.com, click on Activate Now.
Before exiting the stage was something that would come to adversely affect his career like nothing else had before. Yeah, you know where this is going. DaBaby would take a short break from his set at Rolling Loud to profess some totally inappropriate, unprovoked, and utterly disgusting phobic remarks to the gathered crowd. After openly suggesting that gay men are not only promiscuous, but dirty and disease-riddled, well, it left everyone, including many of DaBaby's fans, with a sour taste in their mouth. Now, in the ensuing days and weeks, a whole bunch of celebrities, they would come out against them. We're talking HIV-positive Queer Eye star Jonathan Van Ness to former DaBaby collaborators like Dua Lipa. Now, they were both shocked and unsettled by the hate he was professing. Now, the uproar was so loud and angry that DaBaby, he had to address it in some way. So he fired off a series of Instagram lives in which he described his words as a call to action. Yikes. Bad idea.
Regardless of what you motherfuckers talking about how the internet and twisted up my motherfucking word. Me and all my fans at the show, the gay ones and the straight ones, we turned the fuck up.
Now, this was like throwing gasoline on an already blazing fire, and with the uproar against DaBaby growing louder than ever, well, he finally decided to apologize. Well, kind of. He shot out a tweet which called his actions insensitive, while also suggesting that even so, he ain't tripping. Oh, God. Now, with this half-hearted apology, people finally had enough. Partners like Boohoo Man Clothing, well, they would break all ties. Then scheduled performances, they were canceled at the Parklife Festival in England, Lollapalooza in Chicago, and the Governor's Ball in New York City. Now, all of whom they disinvited the rapper and they replaced him with other artists. Now that the controversy had finally begun to impact his bottom line, well, DaBaby would muster up the humility to issue a formal apology on Instagram and acknowledge his own need for education while still somehow managing to criticize the speed of the online back backlash. Just take it, bro. But then DaBaby would later delete that apology too, suggesting that even after all of that, well, he still just hadn't learned his lesson. In February of 2022, footage began making the rounds that showed DaBaby getting involved in a fight with Brandon Ellis. Now, this is the brother of DaBaby's former girlfriend, Danny Lay. Now, the altercation, it took place at a Los Angeles bowling alley, and it shows DaBaby and his crew, well, they're physically messing with Brandon, and it don't look pretty. Now, at one point in the footage, DaBaby is clearly seen walking towards the camera, so there's absolutely no doubt that it's him. Now, shortly after the clip began going viral, well, TMZ would cite law enforcement sources who confirmed that the police, well, they were investigating DaBaby for assault with a deadly weapon. Now, per that report, the investigation, it hinged on the fact that Brandon, well, he was kicked in the head while lying prone on the ground, which is an easy way to kill someone. And, you know, we're talking about a guy who's already someone, you know? Now, Brandon ultimately refused to cooperate with the police, and apparently he didn't want to send DaBaby to prison. He did, however, file a civil suit against the rapper, claiming physical and psychological damages, plus medical bills incurred from the incident. As for DaBaby's reasoning behind the whole attack, well, stop me if you have heard this one before, but he claims that Brandon had been threatening him physically in the weeks leading up to what happened for how DaBaby had threatened his sister. That's right, pointing the finger somewhere else. Now, as of right now, the investigation is still underway, but with Brandon refusing to cooperate, I wouldn't expect it to go anywhere. Thankfully, DaBaby, he's beginning to feel the ramifications of his outrageous behavior where it hurts the most. We're talking his pocket. According to reports, DaBaby has had to cancel an upcoming concert in New Orleans at the Smoothing King Center after he failed to sell more than 500 tickets in a venue that can seat up to 14,000. And after a year of dangerous and reprehensible behavior on DaBaby's part, well, the internet, they had themselves a field day when they heard this news. Heck, even DaBaby, he would get in on it, making fun of himself by posting this GIF to Twitter. Meanwhile, one of the show's promoters has since insinuated that the low ticket sales, well, they were because an EDM group also happened to be booked for the same show to entice the college crowd. Now, I guess I can understand how hip-hop heads and EDM fans might not exactly socialize, you know, in the same circles, but placing the blame of only 500 tickets being sold on an ancillary act, well, it's one epic example of passing the blame, which is something we see with DaBaby again and again and again. Like I said, DaBaby has a ton of experience blaming others for his own mistakes. I guess it makes sense that he'd go this route. Now, as of right now, DaBaby's next concerts are scheduled to take place in Paris in October. November, he's in Houston, and well, I guess we'll have to see how those shows fare before we can really determine if people are just sick and tired of DaBaby for good. As far as I'm concerned, however, audiences vote with their money, and if DaBaby can only gather a crowd of 500 people in the party-crazy city that is New Orleans, well, then something is definitely going on with his brand. In other words, the decline of DaBaby's career, it has already begun. Thanks for checking out this very special video we made exclusively for Snapchat. Now, you may be watching it after it's released.
Yeah, now subscribe with me, like my shit, and see. Self-sabotage is a real thing, no matter how far you go online. If you don't fix it, social media makes them, social media breaks them. Now it's the biggest thing that upset many women, especially putting his child's mother and a child out in the middle of the night and embarrassing her alive. I don't know what happened there, so I'm not going to speak on that. But yeah, subscribe to me, like my shit, and see. Bye. Let me know your opinions.